Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Switcher Worship webinar series for this holiday season. I'm Brandon Ramos. I'm the COO here at Switcher. And today I'm joined by Corey Aldrin, the CEO and co-founder of Sermon Shots. Corey, for those of you who haven't met you, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to hear a little bit more just to kick us off on the background, a little bit of the heart behind Sermon Shots.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Looking forward to this. Sermon Shots. I am one of the founders, CEO. Sermon Shots started about 4 years ago. Came out of just previous experience in the software industry. I've been building software websites for 15 years or so, and Sermon Shots was really the idea came from wanting to take that experience and help the church is really where it came. Talking to churches, I quickly realized some of the things that they needed. And we were able to start small, and it has grown to a lot of churches recently.
Yeah, it's interesting. I talk with a lot of both church customers and folks in the kind of emerging space of church tech. And a lot of it has that story of you see the problem, you see some of the answers in other places, and you get a chance to bring that together. That can be really cool. Well, I'm super pleased to have you here on the call today. Just as we're getting ready, we're deep in the holiday season right now. I know schedules are busy. What's going on with you? What are you looking forward to for Christmas this year?
Well, besides the normal thing of getting together and eating and hanging out with family all day, leading up to Christmas, our family, my wife and 3 kids, we all love watching Christmas movies. So we usually pick at least 5 nights leading up to it, and we pull our names out of a hat, and you get to choose which Christmas movie we watch. So
that's fantastic. I think I've got 3 as well at home, and we do a lot of Macaulay Culkin. I can tell you that much. So nice. That's a great tradition.
Yeah.
So as we get into it here, I know Christmas is coming fast, and today, I'd say our conversation is going to be around helping you prepare, yes, for the big service, but we also want to talk a lot about what comes after, right? So for many, like you're getting ready to do a Christmas live stream or set of Christmas live streams in December, but what happens once we're through and it's January time? Is that content going to just sit on the shelf, or is there more to go with? And how do you get the most out of both the live stream and the follow-on efforts? So what I'm hoping to cover today is one, kind of the opportunity around the Christmas season and how you can engage folks during that time. We'll talk a little bit about how Switcher can help you create visually compelling live streams. And then Corey, this is why I'm so excited to have you on the call, how you repurpose that content into post-service content that can last you throughout the next year, and how that can turn into nurturing your total base of participants. I find, when I talk with church customers all the time, I often think they're incredible creators, right? Week after week, they're making really meaningful content. And one of the reasons I love working at Switcher is the fact that I'm able to help those folks get more value out of that content than just kind of the one live stream. So I'm excited to have you here to talk about this. So let's jump in. Corey, would love to hear a bit from your perspective. Can you tell me how churches prioritize the Christmas live stream? What's important? Do you really see this season as like a big time for many of your own churches that you work with?
Yeah, I think like most of us know, Christmas is the biggest time for the church. It's when you get the most people that come and listen to your sermon, right? People that haven't been at your church in a long time, or maybe only come once a year, twice a year. It's a really big opportunity, and your online service, I think, is just as important. It can be just as big I personally know that there's people that are intrigued and interested at this time of the year, right? Like what the church is nearby,
Mhm.
but maybe aren't ready yet to jump into being right in church, but doing it online is definitely a great opportunity. So yeah, biggest time of the year. Every church should be capitalizing on that for sure.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead. You were gonna
Yeah,
say.
no, I think that's exactly what we see as well. And I think you mentioned two really important audiences there. It's the kind of the folks who are maybe haven't been or have a hard time getting there or intend to, but the live stream is a way to connect. And then you talk about those folks who maybe not quite ready to set foot in, but are certainly like interested in this season. And that audience, I think, is so important for churches across the board. So I couldn't agree more. I think that's a lot of where that starts to be super important in terms of when this happens. So when you think a little bit about then that Christmas live stream, um, how do you keep them connected in January in broad strokes? I mean, I know we'll get into the heart of this, but like when you think about, okay, great, you've done a great show. What's important? What matters when you think about how that is going to be converted into something and that could be used later in the year?
Yeah, I think something that I think about and I hear pastors say a lot is people, when you're at church on Sunday, whether in person or online, you get this great emotional connection. You get this great experience, right? But when you go outside of the church walls, uh, the world, you know, has a different message for you, and so you sort of forget about what is happening or what happened
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday. But there, if you can reinforce that throughout the week, you're saying throughout the month in January, reinforce that thing that they heard and that inspiration they had, the emotional feeling they had throughout the week, throughout the month. It helps reinforce that message and also remind them what they heard. And it's just great for keeping their engagement and reminding them so that hopefully they come back next week.
Yeah, man, I love that message. Like, because it's not necessarily like your traditional uh, hard and fast engagement metrics or like technical roadmap, but it really is about just ongoing connection and engagement and making sure that the message carries through. I mean, in my own work life, you talk about marketing funnels and the like, and people need to be reminded of things that they would learn. And so the fact that message like continues, I think, is really important as you continue to reach people.
Yeah.
Very cool.
When you think about the funnels, I think they say something like you have to be reminded like I don't know what the number is,
I
5,
think
6.
it's like 8 or 9 times, right, before that message really sinks in. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you think about that from the perspective of the church, it's like Sunday, and then you
Mhm.
conveniently have what, 6 more days to,
Yeah.
right? So it's perfect.
Yeah, right on point. That totally resonates with me. Right on. So let's talk a little bit about the live stream to start. This is where I think Switcher and Sermon Shots, like our two companies, have become partners. I think it's a very natural place where we're going. Great. There's some great work that can happen during the live stream, but in the subsequent kind of taking that live stream and turning it into marketing materials, there's fantastic overlap. But when we think about the live stream specifically, I really think a compelling live stream is so important for churches who are looking to reach their members as well as increase their membership. Let me take a minute to talk about some of the things that I've seen virtually, and I'd love to hear from you as well as you think of what makes a fantastic Christmas live stream.
Yeah.
The first one that I'll call out because it's right. When Switcher got started, one of the reasons it was founded was to allow for seamless multi-camera streaming. And when I think about what makes a really engaging live stream. Uh, you don't need 8 or 16 cameras. Like, it's awesome. I've seen some productions like that, and it can look like TV. But even just going from 1 to 2 or 3 cameras can make a ton of difference. It'll go from like a novice production to just a few different angles that can really help capture some more of the emotional punch and keep folks interested. I think that can be a huge piece of what works for the live stream. I don't know if you've seen similar things on your side.
Oh, the difference between a church's live stream where there's just a camera in the back and you see the pastor from a long ways away, and being able to just very briefly switch to close up or switch to a different angle brings the viewer into the service way more. I mean, it's so much more engaging. If you're at home and you're watching the one from way back and you can't see the pastor's face, really, you can't see his emotion to like what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get distracted at home or wherever you're at, right? But if you can be engaged, you're actually paying attention more. And that's what all those angles do.
I totally agree. I'd also say, again, sometimes when I'm given some of these points, I always get a little concerned of, am I making it sound too challenging to make a great live stream? But just a couple of basics, I think, makes the difference. And so a few graphic overlays can really help. So here I think about just having a logo on the screen, having an intro on a lower third on some of the main themes that you'll be sharing, or even prayers or song lyrics, feature those in a scroll as you get a bit more advanced. I think it's a great way not only to, if you think about some of the things you might be bringing in person and some of the graphics presented there, it's those same things that are going to work really nicely for a live stream presentation to keep folks actively engaged in what goes on. And I think that style creates a lot of good raw footage too, because this is not something where you necessarily then need to go back and edit to add these things in. They're part of the original production and they just carry over when you get to a chance to go on and create some additional assets from that first production. How do you think about those types of things, Corey?
So all of that really adds to, I think, the quality and the feel of your sermon from the viewer perspective. Absolutely. And one thing I think is really interesting from the perspective of using Switcher for this is you don't even have to, if I remember correctly, you don't have to have 3 like high quality video cameras. You can use your phone, right? Like a small church that doesn't have the budget for all 3 like really high cost cameras. iPhones are pretty good, and it's pretty easy to find one of those in your church to use. So
I totally agree. I mean, we talked about multicam, but the other big premise for one of the reasons Switcher got started was we wanted to find ways where churches and other organizations didn't need gigantic hardware budgets, right? It was the type of thing where you could use iOS devices and really power that experience. And I think that's been fantastic. It also needs to be simple. And I know many of our church customers, they're not doing this with video production like wizards. It is volunteers who take a bit of training and they're able to kind of use the software and really make a powerful production when they get going. Right on. So
I was going to say, like with 3 iPhones, you could have a close up of one that's out where you can kind of see the congregation as well participating, and then another one that's a different angle that you can kind of switch back and forth between the 3. Right.
I would say you just named, like, when I think about the setup that our support folks talk about for a great church stream, that was it, right? It is just 3 simple angles. You capture some great emotions. You're able to cut if there is, a musical feature, able to switch over to a stage that can be important too. But that's really where it starts to be. So I think that's on. The last one I'd mention would just be, don't forget you have a live stream audience. So if you're doing the live stream, It's great to engage the in-person audience, but also if you just take a minute, you can thank the live stream audience. You can engage with those live stream audience. If you've got a little bit of a larger staff and you want to talk about soliciting comments during the live stream that you can feature, I think that can be an important moment too, and can also make for a unique, like, talking to the camera moment that I think can be great for use later.
Yep, absolutely. I think if the online viewers know that they're being talked to, it helps keep them engaged as well. So
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump forward a little bit. We've got a great live stream. It went well, no technical issues, in the books, and you can breathe that sigh of relief. Now it's January, right? And let's talk a little bit about what you do after the fact. Any thoughts? What are the main pieces you think about when you're going, how can I repurpose, say, a 40-minute Christmas Eve service live stream? How do I turn that into something that I can really drive a lot of value from after the fact?
Yeah. I would just say that church is in like the best space right now, in their best place to be able to utilize what they're doing on Sunday, and combined with the technology that has been advancing recently. There is so much you can do now on a much smaller budget than previously. So with one sermon, I mean, you can turn it into reels, clips on social media, right? Very popular. You can turn it into images. The technology now can take quotes and put them on images. Devotionals, turning your sermon into some text-based content, like a 5-day devotional, 7-day, 30-day devotional, turning them into all kinds of different pieces of content. I know I've probably missed a few. Turning it into a blog post, that's a popular one, to post along with the replay of your sermon.
I mean, it gives you a whole catalog of like different ways to engage post that initial live stream. Do you have success stories? I mean, I'm sure people are wondering about, like, okay, I can see myself doing some of those things. I'd love to hear if there's folks that you've seen who maybe work with sermon shots, like, what's that meant for folks within your customer set?
Yeah. I have I have so many stories that I can tell because I go to conferences a lot and get to talk to a lot of my customers. So I'll tell one story that kind of summarizes many stories that I've heard in the past, which is recently had a pastor come up to me and said that one of his services recently, he had multiple families come up to him, new families, that said they found them specifically through reels that they were posting, showed up on their newsfeed and caught their attention, and then watched more of their content and decided to show up. So this isn't a theory thing of like, oh, if you post on social media, you might get, like, that's really happening in the church. So that story, it's really powerful. It's also, it mirrors when I'm talking with church customers. That is what I'm hearing today, because it's, frequently I'm willing to ask the question of, like, hey, why do you live stream week after week? What's going on there? And what I hear kind of unfailingly is, look, we do it, one, because we want to get the message out there. For sure, that's important. Two, we want to reach our members that can't come in, right? And there are folks who may be in the hospital or just unable to get in that week. And so we want to make sure that message reaches them. But three, so often I'm hearing, look, people are a little afraid to set foot without really having done some research or being exposed to the message, the feel. Those things are important, and they're availing themselves of social media and video and other places where they can kind of get a taste for what they're going to encounter and make sure there's a fit. And so that story, I think that's it. And I think it may be like the primary reason. It's not because
churches want to necessarily have a channel of people that are always watching remotely. It's about getting folks in the door and growing the community. At least that's what I hear from many of the folks we work with today.
Yeah. And where is everybody, right? Like everybody is on social media. So you have that ability to reach them where they're at. So
exactly. Okay. So we get that live stream going. Fantastic. We start to create more content, more clips, reels. We're reinforcing that message as we go. Excellent. Folks start to engage. When you think about nurturing audience, we know it's important to nurture after that live stream. Can you share a little bit about how churches grow their in-person congregation via some of that ongoing content? What's that start to look like?
Yeah. So, we briefly mentioned and spoke to that a little bit there. But what I would say, some of the reason like why that actually happens, why do people come to your church? Because they saw something online, right? So there's been lots of studies that have kind of asked the question of like, why did you choose this church? And consistently, I've seen two main reasons always come up at the top of why they chose a church. One is the quality of their service, and then it's the style of their service, right? So like churches have this widespread range of styles of services, which is great because it matches all kinds of different people's preferences, right? Well, those two things can completely be shown to people without them having to come into the church through the things that we talked about, right? So like the clips, they clearly can show the user what service is like in a very quick 60-second clip. Which is, for better or worse, kind of how social media world is going, something very quick, right? So instead of having for them to have to go see the full thing right away, they get a quick snapshot. Then they can go look at the online service. So
I think that's it. And I know we were rolling a little bit of background on sermon shots there while you're talking. It's what I love about the tool, right? You're able to take a bit of that live stream, but also add in and highlight in a style that like is really your own, right? And that creative control that your solution brings, I think that's a fantastic layer that allows you. You don't have to be like, again, an editing expert. You've got the live stream. You get a very easy interface that's really effective at driving additional content that's packaged up in the right style, in the right time frame, to the places where people are, right? They're out, they're consuming those reels. That's the type of thing that's going to help them really start to engage in terms of what I'm seeing today. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and one of the things that I personally think that Sermon Shots does a really good job of is what you touched on is the ability to edit it all. So AI, all the content that we're talking about, AI is helping speed this up, right? Because that drastically makes this much cheaper for the church to use. The smaller, medium-sized church has the ability then to use content tools like this. But you don't want to overly rely on AI for everything, especially when we're talking about content that around faith and your church. And so every single thing that's created from design and words, content, copy, all of that is completely editable so that you can change things as you need to fit the church.
And that level of flexibility. I mean, I often talk about the live stream and I'm like, it's not high stakes. It's okay if something misfires here or there. Yes, you're putting a great production quality out there, but what's great about content after the fact is you can edit, right? You've got that ability to highlight the moments that were really magical and put a real spotlight on that. And I think that's great when you get to that stage as well. Okay, so we did flash. For those who are on live, if you're watching Facebook, YouTube, feel free to drop questions, comments, and hello to folks who are out there. We're going to start to come to a close. Hey, Phil, good to see you. I'll wrap us up here on a few points, and then I'll open it up for some questions, and then we'll have just a few quick messages about how you might consider switcher or sermon shots for your holiday video. So before we head in, last 1, 2, 3 steps for holiday content. Here's what I'd say. First, you definitely want to make sure you capture folks who are interested during the Christmas season. So there's still time. If you want to plan your Christmas live stream, really encourage you to get that going. You don't need a big budget. You can get started. Even if it is just one camera, point and shoot, I encourage you, get that live stream going. I definitely think sermon shots can be a great asset when you want to take that live stream and drive to ongoing social clips. And ultimately, once you've had that first live stream, take advantage of the fact that that's great content you've created. Continue to highlight that message, both to get the message out there and to drive your exposure. Keep your community engaged. You do want a regular drip campaign so that you're not kind of falling silent. Rather, folks are going to come to expect a little bit of an ongoing communication. With live streaming, you'll have a reservoir of video that will allow you to draw from. And really, if you want to do this, you want to build a consistent communication channel that's not going to overwhelm you or your volunteers, right? This is where I think software can really help. You don't need a staff of 10 to create a great live stream. You can really do a bit of this editing yourself with the right tools. And so I think that gives you a good game plan to get going for this holiday season. So with that, let's wrap a little bit on questions. Let's see, I'm going to take a look at what we've got come in. All right, the one I have here is, how do churches know which moments from their Christmas service will translate into the most impactful clips? So I've got a few thoughts here, Corey. I don't know, what do you think makes for like really impactful moments from a Christmas live stream?
Well, so generally, I say most people that were at church, like if they were at church and they've watched this, they kind of know. I usually say like those amen moments, right? Not every church has people saying amen, but like you know those great one-liners or those great moments that made you feel like those are the moments that you want to capture for sure.
I think that's right. I mean, as I've talked with folks, and it can be teaching moments, it can be explanations, but there are moments where I find that are emotional, where it really, I don't know, it touches people, it meets people. You can see an audience reaction, and people feel like a moment of realization. I think that can be tremendously impactful. I also think, when you think about then taking those to clips, you've got the ability, when you think about that great matchup of delivery of message, audience reaction, and then, we highlighted kind of that ability to like bring that into text. So even if people are not watching with the sound on, they still get that message through. I think that can be really impactful in terms of the moments you want to capture with any live stream, Christmas or otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay, I think we're running just about on time. So I know there are a couple other questions. We'll get them answered in the comments. I do want to thank everybody who tuned in this week. Let's just close with a couple of quick messages. So first off, again, Corey, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, sharing your expertise. And I really appreciate your partnership. So thank you very much on that front.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I would say, so quickly, I know Sermon Shots, you're doing some holiday offer. So I do want to give a moment to talk about that. Can you tell us, do we still have time for that?
Yeah.
Sermon Shots, yeah.
Yeah, just here. Because the yearly offer that we do around this time of the year just actually technically ended, but we're doing one. We're going to allow it for everybody here too. So
awesome.
Switcher 30% off for any yearly plan, and it's Switcher 30 off. You can see it there. Yeah.
Real appreciate that. Thank you. I'd also say, because in joint partnership, anybody who's watching the video or any Sermon Shots customers who are taking a look, we're doing a similar offer right now. So you can lock in Switcher's 3-month pricing currently, and that's at a special rate. So this will save you $30 every 3 months if you were to jump on that offer. Also, for those who are on this call or are watching it after the fact, use the code SermonShots5 for an additional $5 off for trying Switcher. You get a 2-week free trial, but this would be applied to your first payment on whatever package you're looking to use. So invite you to jump in and try both services. Really excited for the Christmas season. And Corey, thank you again. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. And I appreciate everybody who jumped in and made the production for our webinar series this year possible. So thanks, team. Thanks, everybody at home. We'll talk soon.